Happy Friday, y'all. I'm Catherine Ross with TheStreet. I'm here on the floor of the NYSE with Jim Cramer. Jim, your team is playing my team this weekend.
Oh my, and I'm not optimistic, but mostly because my head is still in the Derrick Henry cloud. I cut him last week, akin to when I cut Tom Brady before a Super Bowl year. I'm a bonehead. This was one of the worst moves. I've been playing Derrick Henry week after week after week. And I switched him out with Rashard because I thought that Rashard would get a lot of touches in the fourth quarter. So let's just say I'm in the penalty box when it comes to fantasy this week. But I think you'll win. I think Cowboys win, and I think that because I don't know if we can stop Zeke.
I know he's a monster, and I love it.
We have a better rushing defense, but let's just say that we're not the team we were last year. But that's understandable. We lost a couple of really good coordinators. Well, may the best team win. They don't like each other, And
not at all.
There was one of our linebackers kind of got under the skin. That was wrong. And
yeah.
Coach Peterson's such a high-end guy, but I wish you the best luck. Remember, it's America's game. It's at 4:25.
And it's funny, though, because my family's all from Philly, and so they're all Eagles fans.
Absolutely.
And they're not happy that I'm a Cowboys fan.
No, it's quite distressing, actually.
Jim, the markets yesterday crash and burn, but how's it looking today?
And then resurrection, then
yeah.
Lazarus. We borrowed. I think that the reason why the market's not up more is because the rally was correct. It anticipated a number that allowed a one-and-wait strategy. Now, I was calling for one-and-wait when they were calling for 4 hikes. The lead story in the Journal is clear that they had to switch their view. I don't like how a lot of people who cover the Fed never feel that you can criticize them. Now, I was a sports reporter at one point in my career, and I covered Florida State, the Florida State football team. And I understood that I was in a Florida State town, which was Tallahassee. And I understood I took my life in my hands if I said something negative about FSU. Go Noles. But this is not like that. This is not this is not a small town where you're the beat writer on it and you need to be able to speak to Coach Bow and you need to speak to the players. This is a unelected group of people who were wrong. And now I'm not asking them to say they were wrong like I just said on air that I cut Derrick Henry, who had 51 points last night. What I am saying is that you can't forget that their strategy of not being data dependent really led them in the wrong way, and that they contributed to what I think is a nascent slowdown that I'm not crazy about. Now, I'll say things on air like, the 605,000 people got out of prison last year, and they need to get in the workforce. And people say, like, Jim, are you that desperate? And I am saying, no, we're a great country, and there's a lot of people who are incarcerated for things that are now legal. And these people should be allowed to get a job driving trucks. We have a lot of artificial impediments. The president's making it very difficult. I'm trying to hire someone who needs a visa. Well, you're not going to get a visa. You can't. And the borders are sealed off, and a lot of immigrants are going back to places. There's fear. You have minimum wage being raised everywhere. There's a lot of issues that the Fed can't do a thing about. So they come in and they basically, one of my colleagues said, cause a snowstorm, and it makes it harder to get to work. And I don't want that snowstorm. I think that we should have clear skies. And I think that the Phillips Curve is wrong. I think the models don't work. I think 3.7%, 3.5%, 3.2% is what we should be shooting for. We want people to get jobs. There's still a huge number of people who are unemployed. And also the incentives to work are not what they should be. So I'm really of a very different camp. I think that the models don't work. I'm from the Salesforce school. What is Salesforce? It allows you to lay off people, but that's why Mark Benioff is so important when he talks about the fourth industrial revolution and what to do with all the people that are displaced. That's what we should be thinking about. White-collar displacement, teaching people how to code, trying to get small businesses to start, and that's how you get the unemployment to 2.5, and I want that to happen.
What about the jobs number this morning? It came out lower than expected.
It was weaker. And then immediately the apologists come out and say, well, no, Jim, we all expected it to be weak. I want to go back to the tape where I was considered to be a great outlier when I said that this number will be weak. And people were talking about 250,000, and the people who were talking about it, they weren't doing bottoms up, and they weren't doing the homework, including the Fed. Now, I'm very homework derived, and I speak to all these different companies, and, this is what I know. I mean, do you think I don't want to say things are great? Of course I want to say things are great. I mean, last night I had Mark Butler from Ollie's. He said something that's really important. He said he's a winner in the tariff situation because a lot of companies pre-ordered a lot of different material and things, merchandise, because they feared the tariff increases. So where's that merchandise going to go? It's going to be offloaded to Ollie's because these companies bought too much stuff, and I think there was a lot of pre-buying ahead of the tariffs, which is going to show that even the numbers that you see now are much stronger. The revisions down. I wonder, as my friend and colleague Matt Horween's talking about it, whether we won't even have a negative CPI. So the idea that you should be raising rates, and I'm willing to give them this one because it would be too antithetical to come out right now. That would actually scare people. But this would be a number that if it were Janet Yellen, she wouldn't raise because she would not have committed to 1 and 3, which was a rookie mistake. And no, look, this is one of let me just get this point before I know we got a lot of stuff to talk about. I grew up with these people. And I know these people, okay? They're my peers. And I know they criticize me and I criticize them. Oh, friendly, you got it wrong. And it's okay. I can't, because they now have this job at the Federal Reserve, say I can't criticize them anymore when a year and a half ago I would criticize them. So I'm just telling you they got it wrong. It's fine. They're course correcting. But it's okay. I mean, look, if I didn't know them, they weren't my peer, it would be impudent. Now it's necessary.
Jim, I want to talk to you a little bit about Facebook because that is real money stock of the day, and it's also made so many headlines this week. Can you talk about that?
Did it get to be overly hated? And can a stock go up because a company itself is hated? No. I need to see one piece of data that indicates that they're doing well. Now, they were in town talking good story. But I think that until we see something good, any rally is going to be short-lived. Now, it's not an expensive stock anymore. But Catherine, there's at a certain point your reputation is so tarnished. Like right now I'm dealing with Goldman Sachs, and I don't think the Malaysian thing is nearly as serious. But, the headline risk is there. And I just continue to think that, like Sandberg was endorsed by the board. They need to get a new person in, a grown-up, and they need to fire Sandberg. They need to do that. That's what would indicate change in culture. Rapacious culture of ideas and not truth. Not truth. It's not their culture. Thank you, Mark Benioff, for putting that in my head. CEO of Salesforce.
Before we wrap up for today, because I want to talk about this far more.
Express is up, Catherine. A lot of people feel that's the one that the Chinese will allow to have a joint venture, not be able to come in with no joint venture.
Oh.
I'm going to do a piece next week about which companies the Chinese need to affiliate with and say good things about and let come in. That would tell us that they're changing the ways. JP Morgan.
I would really love to read that piece.
Well, I'm working. I'm working. I got that 425 game.
Yeah, you gotta watch that game. Now, before we wrap up for today, I want to talk a little bit about OPEC and your outlook for oil going into next week.
Yeah, oil's, I think it could go to 55, but then it will come back down. I was talking with David about the idea and why I think that we're going to see a big slowdown in the oil patches. Right now they're getting $30 in the Permian. That's not enough for them. So there is going to be a little dry up. I think we'll probably go to 12 million instead of like 13, 14, like I think people thought. But the world's slowing. And we have excess supply everywhere. Canada has a huge amount of excess supply. So they're getting $10 a barrel. So what we have to recognize is the economy's got to pick up and worldwide. Instead, the economy's slowing worldwide. So just realize that we could downtick in terms of demand. We own oil's fraction alert, and believe me, I'm so tempted to just sell them. But usually don't get your first day. Usually brings in buyers. So let's be careful in terms of selling.
And I want to talk about your oils for Action Alerts Plus and our Action Alerts Plus video, which we will do next.
Good.
Jim, thank you so much for all your insight.
Have a great weekend. And
you too.
Go Eagles. Go Birds.
Well, go Cowboys. Thanks for joining us, guys. We'll see you guys next week.